An ordinary summer, an ordinary lake, the water is warm and gentle. Nothing foretells disaster. But it is precisely in such seemingly harmless conditions that one of the most terrifying aquatic killers on the planet hides, Naegleria fowleri, known as the brain-eating amoeba. This single-celled parasite lives in warm, fresh water, lakes, rivers, and sometimes even in poorly filtered swimming pools. The attack begins simply. A person dives in, and the amoeba enters through the nose. From there, it travels up the olfactory nerve straight to the brain. That's where something truly horrifying begins. In just a few days, the amoeba destroys brain tissue, causing aggression, hallucinations, and death. Almost all cases end fatally. In the United States, where the amoeba is especially active in the southern states, only a few survivors have been officially recorded throughout the entire history of observations. Symptoms appear rapidly: headache, fever, vomiting, and all of this quickly escalates to a state from which a person cannot be brought back. The scariest part is that the amoeba is impossible to detect. It has no smell, no taste, and gives no sign of its presence until infection occurs. Even standard water disinfection methods do not always work, especially when it comes to natural bodies of water. No one warns you that your usual swim could be your last. The killer in the toilet. This is perhaps one of the most disgusting stories related to aquatic creatures. In the freshwater rivers of the Amazon lives a parasite called the candiru. It is tiny, almost transparent, and you might not notice it even when it's right next to you. But its hunting method is a real nightmare for any human. The candiru is guided by urea, which animals and humans release into the water. Scientists still debate whether it is truly capable of crawling into the human urethra. However, documented cases are enough to make you shudder. The little fish, barely more than a couple of inches long, is drawn in with the flow of water and then penetrates the body with incredible speed. Once inside, it spreads its spines, making it impossible to remove without surgical intervention. The pain is described as unbearable, and the consequences are often irreversible. Although such cases are extremely rare, the fact remains, candiru is not a legend or an exaggeration, but a scientifically proven parasite capable of turning a swim into a lifelong torment. It attacks not out of hunger, but because its biology compels it to respond to the biochemistry of the human body. And if you think it's only dangerous in the tropics, just wait. The next creature can be found literally by the pier of your favorite beach. The monster beneath the pier. Engineers vacationing on Norway's west coast were convinced that a metal pipe at the dock had rusted through. It was moving, as if it were being rocked by the current. One of the workers decided to check and was almost swept away by a current of terror. It wasn't a pipe, it was a sharp-tailed sea serpent-like monster over 25 feet long. A rare but real king of the sea, a fish spoken of in sailors' legends. Its official name is the oarfish. These creatures very rarely come to the surface, and every appearance is accompanied by theories about earthquakes or disasters. People who see such a fish for the first time often mistake it for a sea serpent. It isn't dangerous in the literal sense, but its appearance is so frightening and alien that it causes panic even among experienced sailors. One of the fishermen admitted that he was seized by a primal shiver when the fish crawled out from the shadow of the underwater reef. You start to realize how little we know about the water beneath our feet. And while some creatures frighten you with their appearance, others can set a trap for you that you won't escape alive. A body in a trap. Imagine you're swimming across a quiet lake and suddenly you feel that you can't move. Your arms and legs are entangled in something slippery, vibrating, and shapeless. Panic. You can't surface. It's not a plant, it's a living mass. A school of hundreds of anchovies forming a tight ring, swirling around you. Few people know that small fish in large numbers can form truly dense clusters, so-called mega-schools, where the mass is so thick that a person loses the ability to move. This isn't an attack, it's the fish's way of defending themselves. But at that very moment, you become the victim. The oxygen in the water is quickly depleted, and even experienced swimmers lose consciousness. This effect has been recorded in several coastal regions, including Southeast Asia and the western states of the USA. People swimming near these fish clusters became trapped, struggled to escape in panic, and lost consciousness from lack of air. One of the incidents ended in tragedy. The man's body was found entangled in a ring of anchovies, as if in a living cocoon. But that was nothing compared to when you look into the water and see a face. A human face. But it doesn't belong to a human. A mutant with a human face. It sounds like a bad dream. A fish swimming toward you with distinctly human features on its head, eyes, a nose, even a hint of lips. In a video filmed in South Korea, you can see the creature rising to the surface and viewers are instantly filled with disgust. This is neither a fake nor an illusion. This is a real koi carp whose skull has deformed in such a way that it takes on the features of a human face. Scientists explain this as a mutation caused by a polluted environment. But the result is frightening. In Asian countries, such fish become objects of cults. They are both feared and worshipped at the same time. They are found in ponds where waste has been dumped, near chemical plants, and in stagnant bodies of water where the water turns into poisonous sludge. Some believe that such fish are not rare, but simply rarely seen by people. Their faces are the result of bone growth and mutations. But when you see such a fish up close, your first feeling is that you've encountered something otherworldly. Now imagine that just a few feet from the city sewer, there's a jaw hidden that can bite through bone. And she waits. Jaws from the sewer. In New York, this has long become an urban legend, alligators supposedly living in the sewers. But, as it turned out, in some cases this is not a myth. Several documented incidents in the southern states of the USA have confirmed, in sewer pipes where there is enough space and water, young alligators really can survive. And they grow up there in complete darkness. At one time, such animals were bought as exotic pets and then simply flushed down the toilet. Some individuals, having miraculously survived, began to adapt. The sewers, warm, humid, and full of rats and frogs, became a new ecosystem for them. They grew, lost their pigmentation, became aggressive, and were almost invisible in the murky water. In the 2000s, Miami's municipal services discovered an alligator over 6 feet long in the sewage system. The beast attacked anything that moved. One worker was seriously injured when he ended up near a storm drain. You walk down the street, unaware that an ancient predator lives right beneath your feet in the shadows of the pipes. But some underwater killers don't attack out of aggression. They hunt with terrifying efficiency like perfect executioners. The underwater executioner. When the hunter doesn't hide, but simply waits. The pike is a creature found in lakes and rivers all over the world, and it is absolutely ruthless. It has an elongated body, capable of reaching explosive speeds over short distances. But its main weapon is its jaws, lined with sharp teeth that curve inward. Once caught in them, even a large fish has no chance of escaping. There have even been cases where pike have attacked pets that came close to the water. In one of Minnesota's lakes, an angler lost a finger while trying to pull out a fish without gloves. The jaws snapped shut instantly. A pike is capable of attacking with lightning speed, literally shooting out from an ambush and piercing its prey through. Amazingly, it doesn't even need sight or hearing. The slightest ripple in the water is enough, and the pike already knows where you are. Some individuals grow to over 5 feet in length, and they are not afraid of humans. Several children have been injured while swimming in Finland. The pike mistook them for prey. Sometimes you don't even have time to feel that you've been attacked. But there are creatures from which you die not from a bite. Their beauty is deceptive, and death from them is agonizing. Poisonous beauty. Imagine a stone on the seafloor. It doesn't move, blending in with the surrounding sand. But this is not a stone, it's a stonefish, one of the most poisonous creatures on the planet. Its dorsal spines secrete a toxin that causes paralysis, tissue necrosis, and death from respiratory failure. The pain is so intense that victims have begged for their limbs to be amputated. This fish inhabits the coastal waters of the Indo-Pacific region. But in recent years, it has also been spotted off the coasts of Australia and Thailand. Tourists step on it by accident and end up in agony. Local fishermen call it the curse of the sea. One lifeguard recounted how he pulled a man from the water who lost consciousness from pain just 30 seconds after being stung. He began to convulse, his breathing stopped, and only a quick injection of antidote saved his life. If you look at it and see a stone, it doesn't run away, doesn't move, doesn't show any signs of life. But as soon as you step on it, the nightmare begins. However, there are places where no spines are needed. There, they simply attack you en masse. Victims of the leech lake. You step into the water. At first, nothing seems unusual, but after a few minutes, you feel a burning sensation, tingling, something pulling you down. When you resurface, your whole body is covered with living, writhing creatures, leeches. And you are not alone. The leech lake in India, known as Goa Pond, has become infamous for cases of mass attacks. Leeches can be harmless in medical settings, but in the wild, especially in polluted bodies of water, they become aggressive. They penetrate mucous membranes, crawl into ears, noses, and genitals. There have been cases where people required surgical assistance to remove the parasites. Local residents have long avoided this lake. Birds that land on the water never fly out again. The fish have disappeared, but the leeches are multiplying, and the entire surface of the water is a living, breathing, blood-sucking tapestry. However, it's not just parasites that threaten people in the water. Sometimes the water itself turns into a weapon, rotting and devouring your flesh. Rot at the bottom. During the summer months, especially in polluted, stagnant bodies of water, a group of bacteria known as vibrios actively multiply. They don't just cause skin irritations, they can enter a wound and within a matter of hours cause necrotizing fasciitis, in essence, the rotting of living flesh. Such cases are particularly dangerous after hurricanes, when sewage flows into lakes and ponds. The bacteria multiply at lightning speed, and just a small cut is enough for an infection to begin. One of the most high-profile incidents occurred in Florida. A man with a barely noticeable scratch on his leg went swimming in a lake. Within a day, he ended up in intensive care. 3 days later, his leg was amputated up to the thigh. Doctors say he survived by a miracle. You might not even notice when the infection enters your body, and within just a few hours your skin will start to blister, turn black, and then begin to rot, as if you were already dead. Now imagine that all this water is also teeming with snakes, venomous, vicious, underwater snakes. Underwater snakes. There is something primitively terrifying about snakes. Now imagine a snake gliding through murky water almost invisible. Sea snakes, or hydrophiids, are among the most venomous creatures on the planet. They inhabit the coastal waters of the Indo-Pacific region, especially off the coasts of India, Australia, and the Philippines. They don't always attack, but when they do, their venom can paralyze a person in just a matter of minutes. What's frightening is how silent they are. Unlike their land-dwelling relatives, sea snakes barely make a ripple. They writhe and glide past your legs, and you have no idea that at that very moment, a deadly threat is just inches away from you. In one case, fishermen in Bangladesh pulled up a net full of fish and were bitten by several sea snakes at once. 3 of them died before reaching the shore. Their venom destroys tissue, causes respiratory failure, and can make the muscles cramp so severely that the victim breaks their own bones. But the most terrifying thing isn't the venom. It's the fact that you don't know where the snake is. It could be under a rock, in the seaweed, or between your legs. And just when you think everything is under control, something appears that hunts from the darkness using its own fishing rod. The rod of death. Among the creatures of the deep, there is a special kind of monster. It doesn't chase its prey, it lures it in. The anglerfish or monkfish lives at great depths, but recently it has started to be found in shallow waters off the coast of California. It has a growth on its head with a phosphorescent light. It glows in the dark like a light bulb. Small fish swim toward this light, thinking they've found food. But instead of food, they are met by enormous jaws capable of swallowing prey as large as themselves. Some specimens reach the size of a medium-sized dog. But even that isn't the most frightening thing. The males of this species are parasites. They bite into the female's body and become part of her, literally fusing with her, losing their organs and turning into living appendages that provide fertilization. What should be love turns into a biological nightmare. When you swim in the water, thinking about meditative silence, don't forget, there may be a creature lurking in the depths that will lure you in and swallow you alive. The beast in the pond. Catfish may sound harmless until you see the monster catfish inhabiting some European and Asian bodies of water. These fish can reach 8 feet in length and weigh over 200 pounds. They are silent, massive, and capable of swallowing an entire goose. And in some legends, they even speak of children. Italian divers have reported encountering catfish in the Po River that were as large as an adult human. They didn't attack, but their presence felt almost inhuman. One of the divers refused to dive again after meeting a catfish whose teeth were bared like a shark's. Catfish are opportunists. They eat anything they can swallow, and if they can't swallow it, they drag it to the bottom and wait until they can. Their strength, weight, and density make them formidable opponents even for predatory mammals. One farmer in India filmed a catfish dragging a wild boar from the shore and disappearing with it underwater. You look at a quiet pond and have no idea that just beneath the mirror-like surface, an ancient, slow, but deadly creature is breathing. That's all. The world of water is not just tranquility and beauty. It is darkness, slime, poison, and pain. It is a true hell hidden beneath the mirror-like surface of lakes, rivers, and swamps, and it is much closer than you think.